Gamerheads podcast is part of the Little Fellow Media Podcast Network, sponsored by podcast host Budsprout, the easiest podcasting software for hosting, promoting, and tracking your podcast. If you love retro video games and want to watch 8 or more gamers compete for video game glory, come join us for the RGB High Score Live Tournament. We play one Wednesday a month at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time at twitch.tv/retrogamebrews. Join us September 18th for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. For more information and updates, follow us on Twitter at retrogamebrews. RGB High Score. Relive the past. And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me are my co-host Blue,
aka Writer's View,
and my co-host Christian,
aka Fogan,
and my co-host Mike,
aka Pezman Mike.
Welcome to the show, and welcome listeners from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin, where Georgia O'Keeffe is originally from. And a little known fact, I almost lived in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin myself.
Really?
I did not know that. How come you never told me that?
I know.
This changes everything.
I know. Yeah, so I didn't know that O'Keeffe was actually from Wisconsin. Maybe I did. I feel like in 4th grade when you have to learn about your state, I do think maybe there was something about Georgia O'Keeffe coming from...
I'm going to guess that's not the only thing from 4th grade you've forgotten.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But no, yeah, so Sun Prairie is right outside of Madison. And so when we were looking for places to live when we moved in the Madison area, Sun Prairie, we were probably this close to signing the lease agreement to an apartment, but then we found a different place because it was on the east side, and it would have been a long drive for my wife to go to where she was working. So it was a good thing, but I really do like Sun Prairie a lot. So if you ever go to Sun Prairie, you should go to, I think it's called Main Street. It's a bakery where they have pies. It's Hubbard is in Middleton, and I think this one's on Main Street. Same company, but it's fantastic pie. Probably some of the best pie you ever had. So anyway, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Listeners, welcome from Sun Prairie. Listeners from all over the world, welcome to the show. We have quite a bit to talk about today. We have some news, some classic Aladdin and Lion King being remade. Huh? Cool.
Hey, I thought I heard a snicker. There will be no snickering in that news.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's very serious journalism.
We also have games that we're playing and your listener feedback as well. But before we get into all of that, we do have an icebreaker. And Blue, do you want to introduce this icebreaker?
You bet. This was sent to me on Twitter by @NathanL75. And Nathan asks, what is a favorite classic game of yours that never became a franchise, but you wish it would have?
Ew, that's a really hard question.
That is a really hard question because most games, if they have any measure of success at all,
yeah,
exactly,
do go on to become franchises.
That's what I was thinking. Oh boy, Mike, do you want to start us off?
Oh yeah, start off with me. Well, I came prepared.
Ooh.
There's actually a few of them that I thought there was, and I think I talked about it a few weeks ago on the show. There was a game for the GameCube called Vex that I thought was really good. It was another collectathon 3D adventure game, and it ended on a cliffhanger, but it didn't sell that well. So it didn't get that it didn't get a sequel that it deserved. So now I've been left hanging since 2002, wondering what's happening to poor Vex.
No.
There was a really obscure game for the Super Nintendo called Harley's Humongous Adventure. Exactly. Right?
I was like, what?
Yeah, just about a guy who gets shrunk and it's a side-scrolling platformer. I enjoyed that as a kid. That was back when I had allowance and I could get a game from Funcoland for $4. But I thoroughly enjoyed that one, and I really wish they would have made a franchise out of that. But the one that really breaks my heart, that I really wish would have been a franchise was Elite Beat Agents.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking.
Oh, that's a
No,
good
that's not
pick.
the one I was thinking of either.
Oh, what? Okay, well, I'll get into that, and then I would like to know what your preconceived notions of me are. But yeah, Elite Beat Agents, I had so much fun with that game, and the music was great. The story, as odd as it was captivating. It was an emotional game, one of the few games that like gave me the feels, so to speak. Yeah, it was sad in some points and everything. But like one of the best boss battles I've had, and it's just such a great game. But unfortunately, it did not sell, so they never made a sequel to it. Also, little known fact, Reggie, the old Nintendo president, was deeply upset that the game didn't sell because he said that was one of his favorite DS games and wished it would be a franchise as well.
That's awesome.
So what did you think I would pick?
Blue, what do you think he was going to pick?
GoldenEye.
Oh.
Ooh. Well, they kind of did other Bond games.
First-person shooters.
Yeah.
Nightfire, I think, is one.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, GoldenEye, I was thinking, what's that one game that you keep defending all the time?
Oh, Deadly Creatures?
No,
Oh, that's a good one.
Not
Yes,
that
we
one.
need deadly creatures too.
It's the one with the worlds in it, something like Other Worlds, or what's that one that you play on Super Nintendo and you really love, and I really hate that one?
Oh, Out of This World. They did
Out
do
of
a
This
sequel,
World.
Heart of the Alien.
Oh, they did. Okay. then
Okay,
never
but
mind.
Huh?
if a game got a sequel, does that count as a franchise?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
that's
at
a
what
good
number
point.
does it qualify as a franchise?
Yeah.
Or does franchise mean it goes outside of gaming?
Mm.
See, now you could say, like with the rules that they did in Scream 3, where they're talking about the rules of scary movies, and they say
Yes.
if Scream 3 is just one of what will be a long franchise, then the same rules apply. But if it's the end of a trilogy, then all bets are off. So I would posit, using that preconceived set of standards, that it's a franchise after 3 games.
Okay, then I know my answer.
I'd be willing to agree with that.
Okay, yeah, unless somebody has a better justification
Nope, I think that makes sense.
than Scream
Go-
rules.
Yeah, Scream. I can't believe we're going by Scream rules, but hey, whatever works.
Then GoldenEye would count too, I think, because they had. I mean, there's other Bond games, but I mean, not like GoldenEye, right?
Yeah, nobody ever talks about the Bond series of games.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
only talk about GoldenEye.
Yeah, there was the one was I think they did make Tomorrow Never Dies, right? Didn't they?
And I think that Agent Under Fire, that was another one. They did the GoldenEye remake.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true, but that's a remake. That doesn't really count. That's not a franchise.
All right, I'm
What-
sorry.
What is From Russia with Love? Or I think they made that one, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They did a Sean Connery one.
Yeah, which wasn't. I don't know.
None of them were ever as good.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that I don't know. I would count GoldenEye as not making a franchise, but yeah, I was thinking that World one that you talk about all the time.
Out of This World.
Yeah, that.
I love that game.
Yeah. What about you, Blue? Then, based on the Scream rules, what is one that you would wish they made into a franchise?
This is how I answered Nathan on Twitter, but I think that Dark Cloud criminally was cut short.
Yes, that was a great game.
It got 2 games, and then I guess I don't know what happened. I thought they were well received as far as I knew, and then Level 5 just went off and did other things.
Yeah, that was a good game.
Which is sad because, we've got a bunch of Fire Emblems.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of, Fables. We've got a bunch of the Shin Megami Tensei series, those, Etrian Odyssey. And then what is a JRPG that only gets 2 entries?
Yeah.
It's just sad.
Yeah. A lot of personas. Yeah. No, I remember when I first saw that game, I was really taken aback by that game. I had a friend in college that she would play all these really obscure games. I guess Dark Cloud's not that obscure, but for me it was pretty obscure, and I was just like, what is this? Like she introduced me to Oddworld games and to like Earthworm Jim games and just odd like weird games, Booger Man. Not saying that was classic, but I'm just saying like those
It's
are
like the most 90s game ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knights. She introduced me to Knights. So like, yeah. So like, that's cool. That's awesome. What about you, Christian?
If I had to pick one, it would probably be Yar's Revenge on the Atari 2600.
Oh.
That's my favorite 2600 game, and it did get like a reboot thing in 2011, but it was an absolutely awful like 3D Panzer Dragoon type shooter. And the franchise can do way better than that. And I think something as crazy and innovative and dynamic as Yar's Revenge was on the Atari 2600, they could really spin that off into something very interesting with modern technology.
Did you play a lot of Atari 2600 games?
I have played my fair share, yes, sir.
Oh, wow. That surprises me.
What's your favorite?
Yar's
I mean,
Revenge.
Revenge on the
conversation.
Atari 2600. Thank you for
Yar's
asking.
Revenge. That's your favorite? Okay.
Yeah.
Absolute favorite? All right.
I'm sorry.
So, would you want it to look more like a modern AAA game or more like its classic roots?
It could be anything. I don't care. Just give me something that carries on the Yar's Revenge legacy in a way that meaningfully ties back to the original in some way, but furthers the formula.
Interesting. I have to say, I've never played Yar's Revenge. Yeah. And I owned a Atari 2600. I didn't own that game, though. But there was no, like, renting games back then, not for the Atari.
Yeah.
So
You just had to look at the cover art and just take the plunge.
This looks cool. Oh, wait a minute.
E.T., how could I go wrong with that?
Yeah.
That movie's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yar's
game
Revenge
must be
developed by the
awesome.
same man.
It was, yeah. Same with Raiders of the Lost Ark. He developed Raiders of the Lost Ark game too. I will say this. I hated that Raiders of the Lost Ark game. I know like a lot of people are like, oh, that was so innovative. I had no idea what was going on in that game. That made no sense to me whatsoever.
I agree. I thought it was like slowly falling
Yes.
and just had to like, I don't know.
Yeah. You're
I had no idea
absolutely
what
right. I had no idea what it was doing. You fall and then you land and then like the guy with the little trinket on his hand that gets burned, he's there, and then you have to go to the black market and buy stuff. I'm like, what is going on? You don't ever buy anything in a black market in Raiders.
I never even made it that far.
Oh yeah, it's weird. And then there's like snakes and these like these like little basket. It was weird. It was a weird game. So
I don't have either of those games, but I have the manuals for those games.
What? How do you have the manuals for those games?
Oh, my dad just was like, hey, I found these in the garage. You want them?
Ah.
So perhaps at one point we had those games. But
Oh, wow.
the Yar's
That's so
Revenge one
cool.
is kind of fun because in the back, there's two little kids who were recording their best scores for a series of
yeah.
probably like a year. And
That
every
was the
time they
thing.
beat their score, they recorded it down. So that's pretty
Yep.
fun. Because
That
the
is
dates on it are like 81 and 82.
Weird. Yeah. So that's funny because that was a thing that you would, they had on the back of every instruction booklet, like high
Mhm.
scores. And you
Mhm.
could write down your high scores. So
I wish I could have taken advantage of the Activision badges, the patches.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. Those are cool days, weren't they?
Good times.
Good times.
We're old, everyone.
Yeah, we are. Thanks, Christian. So mine, I would have to say, going on the Scream rules, I will have to say Earthworm Jim. I wish that they would come out with another Earthworm Jim
You're
game.
right. They've rebooted like everything.
Yeah.
Why aren't
Okay.
they rebooting Earthworm Jim?
Yeah,
Right.
that was a good game.
Roger,
Yes.
there is going to be another Earthworm Jim game.
What?
That's the good news.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
What's the bad news?
It is an exclusive for the upcoming Intellivision Amico system.
That
And
that
I-
What?
news.
It gets worse.
What?
What?
No,
What?
you're
Yeah,
lying.
bud.
No, I'm 100% serious.
Oh no.
Why would they take a title as big as Earthworm Jim and do that?
Yeah.
Because they're going. From what I understand, now they haven't showed anything off on it, but from what I understand, it's not going to be a 2D platformer. It's going to be some kind of party style game.
No.
Oh,
That's- no.
oh, that's awful. Oh
We
my
should
God.
we should do an icebreaker of what's a classic game that they ruined because they came out with a franchise.
Going by Earthworm Jim rules.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Earthworm
exactly.
Jim being now the standard for everything.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I really liked, like I said, my friend introduced me to Earthworm Jim. I've never, I never played that game before. And oh my goodness, I was just how great that game looked and how pretty it was. And just really, oh man, I spent so many hours playing that game.
He did what else did he? So, yeah, they had Earthworm Jim 64.
They did?
Yeah. Earthworm Jim 3D, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess.
And he was a guest fighter on Clay Fighter.
Yeah, that's true. But that
I'm not saying
count.
it's not a friend. I'm not discounting what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of some of the other stuff that I've seen him in.
Yeah. Crazy. I guess I didn't know all that, but that's too bad. Poor Earthworm Jim. He deserves better.
He definitely does.
That's so depressing. I'm going to be
It is.
honest.
It is.
You know who needs to pick up the Earthworm Jim mantle is Way Forward.
Yes, that's a really, really good idea. Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome. And it kind of plays a little bit like Earthworm Jim, like
Shantae.
yeah, Shantae does. Yeah. So cool. Well, listeners, what is one of your favorite classic games that never became a franchise? You can let us know. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC. You can send us an email at info@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can go to facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast, and you can go to our website, gamerheadspodcast.com, and leave us a message there as well. All right, so let's move on to the news. I have a couple items here, and the first one is the one that kind of alluded to at the top of the show. Christian, since you kind of giggled at this, you want to take that?
Yeah.
That news item?
Sure. This one's from GameRank. Classic Aladdin and Lion King games are being remastered. And according to an insider at GameStop.com, the remasters will upscale the resolutions of both games to HD, and they'll also feature the original soundtracks and will allow players to choose between
That's awesome.
the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions.
That's awesome.
And it will come out in October. Pre-orders available now.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that crazy? You can pick between the Super Nintendo and the Genesis version, so you can finally decide for yourself which version is the best version.
I also think Roger, look,
Yeah, I know.
I'm a Nintendo fanboy true and true.
Yeah.
But I will say, and now another snicker. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, this is funny.
But I will happily admit that the Genesis version is the far superior version.
It
of
is.
Aladdin.
Yeah. What? Blue, you disagree?
I respectfully disagree.
Really? On Aladdin?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I know that the Disney animators actually worked on the Genesis version, and that the genie level on the Genesis version is often considered better than on the Super Nintendo. But it's a little bit stiffer. The music has that Genesis sound, which is, kind of tinny, and I prefer the Super Nintendo.
You know what? This would make for a very good Twitter poll.
It would.
Oh, we already
The battle
know
begins.
what it would be.
The Genesis and Super Nintendo versions of Aladdin are completely different. So it would be weird for them to have two versions of the game in there.
Yeah.
And based on what I read, it said that they weren't bringing the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin over, just the Genesis.
That's what I remember reading, is the Super Nintendo one was not going to be on it.
Oh, so maybe Game Rant is wrong.
Uh-oh.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out when it comes out in October.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know.
So, are you guys getting it?
I've already got it pre-ordered and paid off.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not playing around.
I think I'm going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I am very tempted to, and might, because I had a Genesis growing up, and Aladdin and Lion King were two of the few games I did have on Genesis, so it'd be a fun nostalgic trip.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking about getting it, Blue?
I already have both games on Super Nintendo, so I don't think I need to
what
play
about with the
another
Genesis version?
$30.
You don't have the Genesis versions, though, right?
You're right. I do not have the Genesis versions.
So there you go. So Mike, how much were the games? Just curious.
Well, what for the remastered? It's $30
For each of them?
No, total.
No,
it's
a
not
package.
one game.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, I thought it was two separate games. Wow, that's great. $30. That's cheap. I mean, inexpensive. I shouldn't say cheap. It's inexpensive for a game.
For games that are, 25 years old?
Blue, these are remastered though.
Well, I looked at
I don't
like the
think they're
value.
remasters, are they?
No, they're not like full on
just
remasters.
ports.
They're just ports with that probably just
the
like a.
Game Rant's wrong there too. It's getting remastered. It says that right in there.
It's not. It's the ports, and they just like spray it with Mod Podge or something to make it look shiny.
And give it that rewind feature.
Yeah, and an art museum too. There's an art museum.
Is that really going to have a rewind?
I think it's gonna have an assist mode.
Oh my goodness! Okay, now I can finally beat these games.
So if you don't like swinging on the monkeys, then you don't have to do it ever again if you don't want to.
Nice,
because this is the 21st century.
That's right.
Where are we going with this?
Yeah, you don't want to know. Well, it's coming out in October, so cool. Did they say a date, Mike? Is this a GameStop exclusive too? Just so
no, they also have it at Best Buy and various other places.
Okay. Did they save a date? Give a date or no?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. October sometime.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see, Mike. Do you want to take the next news item there?
Sure. This comes from WHNT News. A video game design club in Huntsville is looking to give kids a place to belong. There are many kids that don't want to play sports, and for a long time, their options for after-school activities were limited. And there's a place in Huntsville that's perfect for kids who may not love playing sports, but do have a passion for video games. Carl Holden enjoys creating video games, and since May of 2018, he's been sharing that passion with kids in Huntsville who are looking for a place to belong. They come to me and say, I'm not good at sports, I'm not good at these things, and this is exactly what I've been looking for, said Holden, CEO of Video Game Design Club. I've had members here come and tell me this is one of the few places they actually feel like they fit in. As Video Game Design Club grows, Holden wants to offer the program to more kids. I'm also interested in one day offering STEM education to underserved markets, and especially, well, let's face it, a game designer right now looks like this. It looks like this. There is not a lot of diversity, he said. And that's something he wants to change. He also says, in the game design industry, only 20% is female, so even just gender diversity is important, but there is a lot of diversity outside as well that needs to change, and if we can find opportunities to teach our children now. He said they're a future workforce. They are the ones that are going to be designing games in less than 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is feel-good news.
I know.
I like this.
That's why I added it, because there's been a lot of like really negative news in recently for video games. So I thought this is really great. Like we should add something like this. So that's why I added it.
Talking about our age, and this is something that I know I could have benefited from as a kid.
Me too.
Because when we were younger, of course, being a gamer meant you were shunned by that was not the cultural norm. But something like this is really cool. My son's school had something similar to this. It was more of a video game fan club, and where they met every twice a week and just did like history lessons on games, play old games. They even got to talk with one of the Overwatch developers over Skype.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It is really cool.
But while you were reading it, though, I was thinking that that's the kind of thing that could only exist now. Like when I was a kid, if that was a club, to show up would have been suicide.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Blue.
There would have been like maybe 2 of like the weird kids would have been there, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because like I think so. I mentioned this before on another episode, but my friend from grade school and we started our own software company when we were in like 6th grade and 7th grade, or 7th and 8th grade actually, and we wrote games, but they were like, do you remember like shareware, right? Blue and Mike, you remember shareware? Oh yeah. So we made a lot of games for shareware. Christian, that's not a thing now, so maybe it is.
No, I know what shareware is.
Okay. Christian, let me explain what shareware.
All offended now.
Yeah.
How dare
I know what that is.
Sir.
Every time Roger talks down condescendingly to him about something old, Christian's like, yeah, I know what a VHS is.
Part of that's joking because I just want I think that's kind of a joke. But see, back when there was computers there, Christian, we had these things called sharewares. Anyway, so we would make these games and it was cool, but you're right. Like I could never tell anybody at school that I did this on the side because I would be picked on so badly. And and growing up, like, I don't know, like my dad was my dad was a jock in high school, so I think he wanted me to kind of fulfill those shoes, and like that wasn't me at all.
Are you laughing or crying? I just want to make sure.
A little of both, some wounds never heal.
Yeah. So I think this is cool, and I do agree with you, Blue. This would have been, you're right, absolute social suicide if you went showing up at these clubs for sure. So
I wonder why that is exactly. It might be just because there's more people playing video games now, and people grew up with them and are becoming parents who played video games when they were growing up.
Yeah,
but part of me also thinks that it's because of video games and money being in the news all the time, because every time there's like a Dota International, every time Ninja gets signed to a streaming deal or an advertisement deal, it's in the news and you see huge multi-million-dollar figures. And I know, like, a line my parents would use all the time is, why are you playing video games? You're not going to make a living off that. What's the point? And like with sports, you're probably not going to make a living off of that either, but there's still like a possible future where you're going to be making millions of dollars playing a sport professionally. And with video games also having that analog, maybe it can garner more support from parents because of that.
Yeah, that's funny.
I mean, I don't know. I always saw, like, when I was playing sports, there was always like, you can get your college paid for. It's not that you're going to make a living, but that maybe you won't be paying off student loans for the next 30 years.
But you can get your college paid for now. There are colleges that are starting esport leagues that will pay scholarships to kids that are good at video games.
The right video games.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Because there's one in, I think, like Colorado or Utah or something, where they are a game design college. So they sign on these like good esports players, and then they use them as like basically testers in the games that they're designing at the school. Like, the people that are going to school for game design use these players then to test their games. I mean, it's fascinating, I think. But yeah, that's a good point, Blue. Like in Christian, that fact that like that back then, I mean, even now, like I think there's still some thought of like, well, if you're really good at sports, you could make it. You can get a scholarship, or you can get your college paid for. You can get
maybe
you can get paid for it.
You have to be good at the right sports.
Yeah.
And those are all male sports.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and now it's not like it was when I was growing up, at least. Like, there are, like, sports, like, if you want to be good at something, you have to specialize in just one sport, and that's it. Like, that's, like, kind of a push now. And it's kind of like video games, too. Like Ninja's good probably other games, but what does he play all the time? Fortnite. So, like, that's his big thing, right? So, like, I do see, like, a push of kids, like, they're just like, oh, I just gotta play, this one type of game all the time so I can be really, really good at it. And that's also different than when we were kids, because like I feel like it was just you always played a mix of games. But anyway, that was a little bit of a sidetrack on that. This last article that I have here, Blue, do you want to take this one?
Sure. This comes from Vice.com. Doom programmer John Carmack says games industry doesn't need laws against crunch. So ID Software founder John Carmack went on Joe Rogan to talk about labor in the video game industry. Rogan asked about the long hours developers work to ship a game, often under brutal time constraints, which are known in the industry as crunch. Carmack acknowledged that people in the industry work very long hours, and that the long hours he's putting into creating Doom and other games have made him rich. But ultimately, he doesn't believe game developers should be prevented from working long hours by law. There's some serious debate about it. Some people, or this is a quote from him, there's a serious debate about it. Some people despise that about the industry, that no one should work that hard, Carmack said. And there are people that think there literally should be laws that prevent people from working that hard. I always have to argue against that. There is a power to obsession and being able to obsess over something, your life's work. Instead of work-life balance, it's your life's work. He pointed out that programmers fresh out of college who join up with Facebook or Google have nice perks. They work hard, sure, but they get to eat candy at work.
Wait,
okay.
You know what? I'm not going to say anything. Keep going.
Okay. They have benefits and job security, but work in the games industry is often punishing, and even he admitted it doesn't pay as well. There's less job security, and they work you a lot harder. It allows products to exist that wouldn't otherwise exist by people working at that level in a way that couldn't be sustained in other industries, he said about crunch time at gaming studios. Many of the greatest things that were made in gaming were only possible by people throwing themselves at that level at it. At certain points, Carmack acknowledged his privilege and how much different his life has been. I always have to be aware that my view into the industry is colored by my experiences, he said. I never actually worked inside of the big EA or Activision studios. It's possible that, excuse me, it's possible that their workers have some valid criticism, but I still come down on, I think it's great when they throw themselves at it beyond the point that other people think is reasonable.
Yeah, so that's a thought. Okay.
I think I get what he's saying.
Yeah.
That if you are passionate and you want to just 110% give yourself to this game, he doesn't want laws preventing you from doing that.
100%.
That's how I interpreted it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, there is a flip side to everything in that when the employers force you to do it
Yes.
when you'd rather not,
Yes.
that's when, of course, it's a problem.
Yes. Well, and so this is the difference, though, I think, between like his background where, you know, making Doom, and that was his passion, and like that was his baby, that was his thing that he, like, you know, brought into this world, versus like when you work as a tester at EA and you're just working long hours, you didn't. I mean,
for pennies, basically.
For pennies, yeah, exactly. You're not going to become the multi-million-dollar owner off this game. You are a cog in the machine. This is not your dream baby. I mean, so this is the difference between, I mean, like, look at the podcast, right? So I don't get paid to do the podcast, but it's a part-time job. My wife has said that to me several times. Like, this is like a part-time, almost full-time job for you that you don't get paid for, but it's a passion of mine, right? So I put in lots of time into this machine, and you guys do too. But we don't get paid for this, but it's a passion that we have. Where versus work, like, I mean, I like the fact that I have work-life balance because I don't, you know, like, I mean, I put passion into my job, don't get me wrong, but it's not like my creation. It's like, I didn't create what I do at work. Like,
it's hard to be like super passionate and go 110% into something that is going to make someone else rich.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I remember, so I mentioned this before on the podcast once, but I'll mention this again because I think it fits into this well. But I remember when I worked at a software company, and we were working on healthcare reform. And there was a time where we were working from 7 a.m. till 5 the next morning, and then sleeping for 2 hours and get up and do that. We did that for 4 days in a row when we were launching healthcare reform. And granted, there was a couple times where you're like, okay, go take like an hour break here or there. So like probably didn't put in like all that time, but it was close to 80 hours that we put in those 4 days. And it was crazy. And I remember saying to my boss after we launched it, I'm like, you know, can I take a comp day? Because I was like really dead tired. Like, can I just get a day because we worked our butts off? And she said, there's other projects. You got to keep going. I'm like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the architect that was working on the project with me, he was probably one of the brightest people I've ever met. And he said something to me that still sticks to me this day. He said, Roger, 5 years from now, nobody will remember all the hard work and effort you put into this. And you know what? He's right.
He's absolutely right.
Nobody remembers that. Nobody cares. It wasn't like something that I created out of my own brain, right? I was told that this is what you have to do. Now, I had ideas of how to implement certain things, but it wasn't like
sacrifice yourself on the altar of the greater good of the company, Roger,
Exactly.
and then say, "Thank you, sir. May I have some more?"
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, I see what he's saying, but on the flip side, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not.
Yeah, if your goal is to have the absolute best game that you can have, crunch is not how you get there.
Yeah.
Because if you consider the circumstances you were working under, you didn't do your best work.
Yeah.
You probably were lucky to put 2 sentences together.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, after a certain point, people stop being productive for sure.
Yeah, you're hurting your final product at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, like these big companies, like
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would always rather see self-regulation than laws made.
I agreed.
So I don't know, maybe it's asking a lot, especially from EA and Activision, to try to see reason and say your final product will be better if you let your employees sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we're seeing it now. I mean, like Xbox came out and said, like, there are a couple games that they were going to launch, and they're like, nope, we're pushing back the launch so that way they can have work-life balance. I think Nintendo said the same thing about Animal Crossing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we would rather have employees that are, you want to be happy, and if you have happy employees, you're gonna have a better product too. If disgruntled employees will look for other jobs, and then you have to start all over. Like, that is probably the hardest thing to do, is to start all over with new employees and try to explain to them like what you're working on and what our vision is, and get them up to speed. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I again, if it's something that's your own project and you're working on, and that's your passion, that's one thing. But yeah, when you're working for you're a cog in the machine, you're working for a big company, and you're not going to see benefits. And how many times have those big companies, after they launch a game, they're like, okay, you're not needed anymore.
Yeah, they fire everybody.
Exactly. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on that, or any other news items that you guys want to bring up?
Not for me.
No.
I'm good.
Okay, so then
No, sorry.
No,
What?
fine.
Every time your employees are complaining at work, just give them candy.
Yeah, that's right.
I was about to say, they get to eat candy. I'm like, oh man, I must be doing it wrong. I'm gonna have to hide my candy.
That's the same, you guys, as benefits. That's the same.
That is the same. Actually, it's funny because one of our coworkers has a big dish of candy that he puts out on his desk that anybody can grab, and I'm over there like probably every hour. I'm like, ooh, what do you got today? Hey, this needs to be refilled. Can we get a refill over here?
And start yelling at him.
Where's your passion? That's funny. Anyway, listeners, we'll go to listener feedback. So listeners, you can give us feedback. You can send us a tweet. Christian, how can people get a hold of us?
At Gamerheads PC on Twitter.
And how can they send us an email?
info@gamerheadspodcast.com.
And what is our website?
That's gamerheadspodcast.com.
And then what of our Facebook site?
Facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear what you have to say. Last week we asked the question, what's your favorite and least favorite video game controller of all time? So we gave our response last week, but here's some of your responses. And Mike, do you want to take the first one there?
Oh, I will be ecstatic to.
Yeah.
This comes from @90s Court, and they tweeted, N64 is my favorite controller. Yes, it was intimidating. Yes, it was confusing. Yes, the joystick turned your palms into ground chuck using Mario Party. Yes, it was a mess, but it was my mess.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually, they messaged me, or the message Gamerheads, I should say, in our direct message, and I said I'll let Mike know that he's not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, in these answers, there was just like a very small percentage of people who loved the N64 controller. And I was like, you guys need to start a fan club.
Yeah, you should. Mike, you could be the president.
Oh,
can do.
Not only am I the president, but I'm also a user of the N64 controller.
I'm also a fan.
Let's see. Blue, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. @BarryCool9001 tweeted, My favorite is the GameCube controller. I don't know why, but I love it. The new Xbox is close. Least favorite is split from the very first Xbox controller to Dreamcast. They just were so hard to hold on to, so big and smooth.
Yeah. I remember the Dreamcast one too, now that that was brought up. Like Dreamcast, that controller sucked. That was a terrible controller.
Whoa.
I've never actually played a Dreamcast.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh.
So I'll have to take everyone's word on it. The pictures of it don't look good.
Wasn't Shenmue 1 and 2 on Dreamcast, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. That was a good game. Although I think you can play the remakes now, so.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation, right? It's PlayStation 4. Isn't that on PlayStation 4 now? I think so.
Yep. Choo Choo Rocket, you can only play on Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah. Seaman, you can only play on Dreamcast.
For that.
Let's see.
These are some very compelling arguments, you guys.
Yeah. All right, Christian, you want to take the next one?
Sure. Matt Christian, old Gamerheads host, tweeted, favorite, PS4, least favorite, PS3. The sticks feel so loose, and it feels cheaply made.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of slender.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
know,
especially the case with the PS3 controllers that didn't have rumble, because those feel really light.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Don't feel great.
Yeah, they don't. Mike, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. This comes from Show Me Games Pod, and they tweeted, most favorite, GameCube. Most hated, Xbox Duke.
What is Xbox Duke?
That
The
was the
first
original,
Xbox.
before they remodeled it.
Oh,
I know some people who do like the Xbox 2 controller because they have massive hands, and that's like the only one that properly accommodates them and their Bigfoot hands. But that's a very small minority.
yeah, for the rest of us with normal or even small hands,
Yeah.
that one is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. And then we got some feedback about the podcast itself. So, Blue, do you want to take the next one there?
Yeah, at Gamified Dad tweeted, started listening a few episodes back and I'm hooked. Great gaming news and talk podcast with positive people who have no one-sided agenda and genuinely seem to be having fun together. Keep up the awesome.
Nice. Thank you.
Oh.
That was very kind.
That made my day.
And then we got some feedback on iTunes as well. So, Christian, you want to read the next one there?
Yeah, this one's from Bahoon. Pretty great. Love the Gamerheads crew. Just wish they would review bigger games and talk more games instead of random news stories.
And then, Mike, do you want to take the last one there?
Sure, and this is from JBabs92. Great gaming podcast with room to grow and improve. Gamerheads is my go-to when it comes to listening to a group of good friends talk about video games. The hosts are friendly, informative, and full of knowledge. Each episode is enjoyable, but sometimes I just skip through the news. They talk a lot about Switch stuff, and there are some weird random stories thrown in there sometimes.
Roger.
Instead of the bigger stuff. Listening to the Gamerheads gang talk about games is great, though. I always listen to the end when they talk about what they've been playing. It can feel like they're rushing to talk about everything they played, though, because they all seem to play so much. I usually like deeper dives into games, especially with how many games these folks play. That Christian kid is crazy. I do really like the review podcast too. I just wish they were about bigger games. I don't think I've heard of any of the games they've reviewed since Assassin's Creed 3. I appreciate them giving some less popular indie games some attention, but I'd like to hear more of their opinions on the big releases. They're also knowledgeable, and they should put that knowledge to good use. Overall, it's a great podcast. I hope you guys keep up the great work. I'll definitely keep listening. That is some awesome feedback. That's the kind of feedback I'd like to see.
Yeah.
It's constructive, and it gives suggestions, and it's not internet jerky.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
It was very thorough.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
So thank you.
yeah, thank you. So yeah, so I agree. I mean, I do pick out some strange news. Sometimes, I try to throw some other things that maybe people haven't heard of yet, like that game club, that video game club thing. But Yeah, and we can look at seeing about reviewing bigger games too. It's sometimes it's whatever game codes we get thrown to our way. So
Yeah.
Square Enix is not in a hurry to send us game
no,
codes.
we are not. But it's something that I'll work on, certainly. So thank you so much, everybody, for the feedback. And if you want to give feedback and have it heard on the podcast, you can do that as well. You can go to iTunes. We'll have a link in the episode show notes, and you can leave us a review there, and we will certainly read that on the air. So thank you very much. Okay, let's move on then to the games that we're currently playing. So, Blue, do you want to start us off? What games are you currently playing?
I'm playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Hey!
It's back.
It's back.
That's a big game.
That's a big game. It's not new or relevant any longer, but it's a very big game. I'm actually up to 110 hours.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Wow.
You've
And
officially played it longer than I have, Blue.
yeah. And was exploring the map still, and then I finally, it was bound to happen at some point, accidentally got myself into a place where I had to advance the story.
Oh.
Oh man.
I know. I was like, I went up to talk to this guy who had the marker of a mission or a quest over him, and then it was Herodotus. And I was like, no, mistake, don't talk to him. But too late. So it was really interesting because we talked before how the game levels up everybody else to meet you.
Yeah.
So I was level 51 when I accidentally talked to Herodotus, and we had to get in the ship together and sail somewhere. And the ship stops and it says, wait, we can't sail out into a war zone unless we fortify the ship. Please go kill some pirates and take their stuff. And I was like, okay. So this pirate ship attacks me. It's level 11. I basically just blow on it and it bursts into flames. And then I board it and I do that thing, like Christian said, where you go and you just poke everybody with a stick and they fall over dead.
Yeah.
It was so weird why that level was set and it didn't level up with everything else.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I finished that and went back into normal sailing, all the ships were leveled up. It was very strange.
That is interesting.
But I advanced the plot a little bit, so I've been playing 110 hours. I've finally upgraded my spear and got more adrenaline segments. Up until now, I've only had 4.
Holy crap.
And I was thinking, geez, I should go back and try. I wish I could go back and fight that poison farting pig again.
Yeah.
I bet it's a lot easier now. It's like, that was unnecessarily hard, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, that game is so good, though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good game. Anything else, Blue?
So I also played Garfield Kart.
Oh, what?
Wow. How does it
I
compare
know,
to
right?
I want to hear all about it.
I mean, Nickelodeon. Is
So
it better than Nickelodeon, at least?
It absolutely is.
Oh, good.
But it still sucks.
Oh.
I know, everybody's shocked, right? So I played it on my 2DS. I think it's from 2013. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's about when it came out. And it just is like, I mean, first of all, I want to say how odd it is to make a kart game with Garfield.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see that connection at all.
There's not a lot of franchise potential there.
It doesn't fit. Like, I grew up I loved the Garfield and Friends cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I watched the crap out of that. And so Garfield always had this big imagination. And so you could have done like a space game, or you could have done where he goes to ancient Egypt and where they worship cats and he wants to become the cat god or something.
Wow.
There's so much you could have done that would fit the character. Kart racing?
No, not one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's another Mario Kart clone. You've got lasagna, is the mushroom.
At least they got that.
It bursts you forward. There's pies that serve as shells. So you have the regular pie, which just goes in the direction you throw it, and that's the green shell. Or they have like a homing pie, and that chases somebody, and that's the red shell.
How original.
Yeah.
I know, right? It's just the controls are what you'd expect. You know, you drift with the shoulder buttons and all that, use the items with the other button. They are super janky though. Like there's no such thing as a gentle turn or a gentle drift. Everything is happening at a 90-degree angle. So to get finesse out of those controls is going to take some dedication. The levels are fine. The music is kind of annoying. There's no character voices. So it's like it's one of those kart racers that just hit like the absolute bottom standard of effort, but it's still better than Nickelodeon.
Is there a single player component to it? Is there like a Grand Prix or campaign or something?
Yeah, there's Grand Prix. There's no story mode or anything like that. But yeah, you can play single races or you can play the Grand Prix.
Are there any unlockables? Can you unlock things?
Yep, you have to unlock the further cups. There's like, I don't know, there's a lasagna cup and a pizza cup, I think. Stuff like that. And you can also unlock new cars, new characters.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You wear hats that give you certain perks that you can use in the game.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Blue. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I gotta say, I'm kind of bummed out about this because they did announce a remaster of it for some reason.
Yeah,
I think it's a sequel, which I want to
it?
say it's like, what is it? Garfield Fast and Furious or something? What is the sequel called?
I'll look at that.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll say is what really bums me out about the Garfield kart, because, you know, I give it a passing glance, but then I don't see, in terms of racers, I don't see Binky the Clown.
Yeah.
I don't see any of the I don't see any of the U.S. Acres characters.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not a Garfield and Friends kart. It's a whatever Garfield became after that show ended kart. So like there's some mouse characters in there that I don't know who they are.
So the sequel, or the sequel is Garfield Kart Furious Racing.
See, okay, now they have missed some pun opportunities.
Yeah.
Why is it not Garfield Fat and Furious?
Or
Furious.
Yeah.
Or something like that. There are some serious missed opportunities here, and it makes me wonder how much they really care.
Yeah.
So Blue, would this surprise you? Well, first of all, like one thing it did come out in November of 2013.
Okay.
Did they really know who Garfield was in 2013 anymore? I mean,
well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, it's very obviously just one of those, get it out, the kids will love it.
Yeah.
Kind of games. But I was like,
it's a little too late.
Still like Garfield? I'm not sure.
Would it surprise you that I got 9 out of 10 on Steam?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's a joke. That's like an inside joke. Like I follow Cheap Ass Gamer. And whenever Garfield kart goes on sale, they post it on Twitter like it's a big deal. The same thing with the Cory in the House game.
Oh,
yes. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I admit it's basically what you expected it would be. It's like I kept seeing it in the eShop for the 2DS, and it's like, you know, those sci-fi horror movies where the people go to space and then one of them will go out and see the dangerous alien thing and they have to touch it. You know, and everybody in the audience knows you should just leave that thing alone. But the character in the movie has to go and touch it.
Yeah.
And in the act of touching the horrible, deadly alien thing, they doom the whole crew.
Yep.
That's kind of how it felt. Me buying Garfield kart. I was like, I know I shouldn't do this. And yet something inside me is compelling me to play this game.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So did you get, I mean, obviously you got it used, I'm assuming, right?
No, it's digital.
Oh, you got digital. Okay.
I've never seen it physically. Do you think they bothered to make physical
I don't know.
versions
I don't
of
know.
that?
It's a good question, actually. Well, it came out. I mean, it was on the 3DS, so I don't know. Maybe they did.
Well, maybe. Oh, side note. Since we love to talk about how awful Nickelodeon Kart Racers is,
Yeah.
Yes.
I found out this week from Robert on Twitter. He goes by @the DCD.
Mm-hmm.
They actually spelled the name wrong on the spine of that game.
What?
It's like Nickelodeon.
Oh
Racers.
my gosh, that's gonna be worth money now.
I
Yep.
was like, that's so on brand for everything about this game.
Oh my.
They don't even bother to get the name right.
Oh my god,
That's so good.
that's awesome. Anything else, Blue?
That's it.
Nice. Christian, what have you been playing?
Sure. So what I couldn't talk about last week that I can this week is Wreckfest. Played through the
Wreckfest.
console port of
Oh,
Wreckfest.
I heard good things.
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. It came out of early access on Steam last year, 2018. So this year they were gearing up for, big console release on Xbox One and PS4, and they got it to work. That's what I was worried about. The main thing I was worried about is how is this thing going to run? Because these cars are getting absolutely obliterated. And I've seen it been played before, and I was like, how are they going to make this run on consoles? There's a 30 frames per second cap, so it's not going to run as smooth as you see on PCs, but it's very stable, which is impressive because there are races where you're racing with 24 cars at once, and when you all smash together on one corner, the game still runs just fine.
Nice.
So you can rest assured knowing that it is a solid port of the same Wreckfest people have been enjoying for the past year.
Nice.
How would you say it compares to a game like Burnout?
That's a very good question, Mike. So Burnout, Burnout, that's a good question. The Burnout I put most of my time into is Burnout Paradise. And so obviously Wreckfest is not open world. It's very much a throwback to the earlier racing games. It calls itself a spiritual successor to Flat Out, which is interesting because it shares a lot of DNA with those Flat Out games, where Flat Out was going for that same thing where we're going to have like a bunch of fun junkers crash into each other. We're going to have some demo derbies. And then they also had this crazy stuff where you could launch your dude out of your car and like do Olympics where you would like shove your dude out the windshield and see how far you could fling him.
Yeah, they had bowling and darts.
Yes, genius. They had high jump. See how high you can fly your guy.
Oh my gosh.
Great stuff. But that's not in Wreckfest. That's not what they have here. But how they get away with just fantastic car destruction is that none of these are licensed vehicles. And I love that. I want more racing games to do that. Burnout doesn't do that, which I like a lot about it. And that's why Burnout Paradise has such visceral crashes, and that's how they can get away with it. Because I think my understanding is that games like Need for Speed have to license out the car makes from they go to Mercedes, they go to Ford, and they're like, hey, we like your Mustang. Can we put your Mustang in our game? And they're like, sure. We just don't want you to show it in this damaged state.
Oh my god.
And so they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. We can do that. And so as a result, all of the damage you see in those games is like maybe a couple dents, and then the screen will just fade to black, and then it'll restart your car just fine. So in Wreckfest, your car gets obliterated. You can ride around on nothing but an axle and four wheels, and it's fantastic. I love it. And so there's a single player campaign thing that you can race through. And it's okay. It does its job. You can do some races by yourself. The races suffer from rubber bandy AI in a really bad way because you can upgrade your car. You buy like cars, and the cars are in classes. They're D through A, and you need to like have a car that meets the requirements for a certain event. And once you do that, you can upgrade your car so that it's even better and faster as long as it's in the same class. You can still go off and do that race. But regardless of how fast your car is, your car could be like A class and have like ridiculous upgrades. There's still going to be another car that's somehow going to keep up with you, despite the fact that car does not have the specs your car has. It's going to keep up with it anyways, which kind of renders the progression largely meaningless when you're playing single player. But there's still races to do, and it's a lot of fun bashing into people in single player, and you can get through it. And there's like an actual meaningful end goal. You can be done with it at the end of the day. And it gives you some excuses to have some single player fun. They throw in a fun, wacky, zany events in there too. Like you're driving this little dinky 3-wheel mini car and you have to race against 23 buses. Or like there's a demo derby and you have this giant piece of farm equipment and everyone else is on a lawnmower.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
it's fun stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that game really interested me. Have you ever been to a demolition derby?
Once when I was very young,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Has anyone else been to a demolition derby?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Oh, wow.
fun. I mean, I love those. I love those events. And that really intrigued me when this game came out. I'm like, oh, maybe I can just smash into other cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my friends used to do that, and his car that he decided to drive it in reverse because the rest of his transmission was shot. It was such a great sport. Cool. And that is on, where did you post a review for that one?
That is on newgamenetwork.com.
Just curious, what did you give that game?
I gave it a 75. I was
Nice.
pleasantly surprised, and it is yet another example of the middle tier coming from behind and giving us a very solid niche video game that we can enjoy for the years to come. Thank you, THQ Nordic.
Nice. Have you been playing anything else?
Recently, there was some mix-up with review obligations, and so I ended up with a review for Astral Chain on my lap.
Oh, you did.
And so I've put like
Ooh.
6-7 hours into it at this point, not very far yet. Finished like the first handful of missions, 4 or 5 of them. And I am thoroughly enjoying it, enjoying my time with it a lot. That was not the case for the first like 1 or 2 hours. It takes a little bit to kind of get going, get into gear. There's a lot of tutorials. You got to learn what the heck is going on because the combat system is very unique.
Yeah.
Because in addition to just smacking people around with your police bayonet, you also have these things. Oh crap, legions. That's what they're called. Legions, which are like these like ridiculous cyberpunk robot monster things, and they're like chained to you through a chain, and it's like super anime, super over the top. And they're chained to you, and they just attack things by themselves while you work around with them. But you can also manually control certain things in aspects of those robots. And you've got different weapons to use. You got progression. You can level up these robots. You can give them like skill ability things. There's a lot going on, and that first couple hours is a lot of explaining, and it doesn't kind of get to like the actual meat of the combat because it slowly gives you the actual combat components. And now I'm finally getting into a groove where it's like, okay, you understand the game now. Now it's time to actually let you play. Good job, pal. And I'm loving it because of that. I mean, the combat's a lot slower than other Platinum games, but I like that as a result. The game's only running at 30 frames also, which is not the standard for Platinum games. But because of that slower methodical pacing, it works out pretty well. And it's fun wailing on stuff. I mean, at the beginning, I was getting D ranks for days, and now I'm getting into an S+ groove, and it feels fantastic.
I've heard the game described as like futurized Pokemon.
Yep, that's what I was just gonna say.
Or the way you describe it sounds like the first Ni no Kuni with the familiars.
Yes. Yeah, that's probably the closest thing. Yeah, because you've got like that weird line tying you to your familiars in Ni no Kuni. And if you just replace that blue line with a chain, boom, you got it.
Yeah, so I got the game too, actually, Christian. Yeah.
How far did you make it in so far?
I've only played a couple hours because I picked it up Friday night, and I streamed it Friday, and I streamed it last night, which was Saturday. So I streamed 2 nights of it. So I'm only to the part where I shouldn't spoil it. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to spoil it too much, but basically you're no, I don't, because it's too spoiler. It's too much.
Yeah, no, I picked it up too, so don't spoil it.
Okay.
No.
Jeez, everyone's getting in on this, huh?
But it is kind of Pokemon-y because you get to like throw out your your Legion, and then you pull it back when it gets when it's gonna get like out of control, right? So like those points, like if it gets low, then it gets like crabby at you. So you
Yeah, it's got like a health meter.
Yeah.
So you gotta be careful. There's a lot that you gotta keep track of in a battle, because not only can you hit yourself, you want your Legion to be helping you out too, but if his health bar gets low, you want to recall him and then play a little more conservatively because you don't want to get hit yourself. And then you can whip him back out for massive damage dealing potential.
But you go out and capture different.
There are like 6 in total, I think. So
Yeah.
6 or 5. So it's not like Pokemon where you're
No, I
like
know.
running around,
hundreds,
getting random
but-
encounters and catching them. I think they're all like story related.
Yeah, but still, it's that I just had to laugh because it did remind me of Pokemon in some ways like that. So, and then you can only capture them if they're weak. So it's like it's not a
That's
Pokemon.
Nino Kuni.
Oh, okay. So the one thing I will say about the game that sometimes the camera controls are kind of weird. Like it kind of gets like I'm stuck behind something and I have to like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not very good at it, but like, I find it kind of hard to throw out my guy and then use the left control stick to like move him on his chain and then also move on the right stick my characters. I just, I don't know, I get a little confused with that a little bit. So, but overall I like it. So
Yeah, I was going in not at all optimistic when I saw that trailer and that Nintendo Direct, I think it was. I was like, eesh, this is what Platinum's doing. I'm not getting my Bayonetta 3 and I'm getting this. What is this anime trash? Why do they have
It
giant
is very
police
anime.
plastered on their chest plate?
yeah.
What is going on? And it looked like a throwaway game that they would just, spit out into existence. And I was worried because Platinum's track record is woefully all over the place. It is like scatterbrained. I played through Vanquish not too long ago and did not like it. I don't know what people saw in Vanquish. I played through, Transformers is all right. They did those Korra games no one talks about because that was bad. They did the TMNT games no one talks about because it wasn't good. Yeah. But Bayonetta 1 and 2, near and dear to my heart. Love those games. Nier Automata, I enjoy thoroughly. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Very, very good. And there's a lot of Rising Revengeance DNA in, oh my gosh, what the heck is this generic video game called? Astral Chain. In Astral Chain, there's a lot of Rising Revengeance DNA and little nods and winks to the games that I've played that I like. Like there was a Nier Automata reference on one cutscene. I was like, yes, you guys have me. They've got this really self-aware sense of humor throughout the game too that I just love.
Yeah. No,
generic. Ow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Astral Chain, what kind of name is that?
Because it's a chain and it's astral. I don't know.
Yeah, because you're going to the astral plane.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. No, it's funny. The one other thing I'll say about the game quick is that it's getting review bombed on Metacritic, that a lot of people were giving it zeros and for no reason.
For no reason.
Well,
because it's a Switch exclusive.
Yeah.
And they're butthurt about it.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, they don't give a reason why they're giving it zero. They're just like, this is the worst game ever. Zero. But you're right. It's because it's a Switch exclusive, and for whatever reason, they're pissed off about that. Well, I guess. But anyway, I mean, that's what I hate about review sites that just like that, where people can just go in and just give it a zero for no reason other than they get pissed off.
If Metacritic was my site and I saw that those people were hurting the credibilities of the scores on my site to the point where people were no longer going to trust them, I would do something about it. But apparently that's not a priority for them. Yeah.
One thing you can't do, though, you can't post a link to your overall review if you're a user. Otherwise, they ban you.
But they don't want you going to other sites. They want you to stay on Metacritic.
Yeah, I know. But I just think it's funny because I did that and I got banned. So, but
banned. Oh no!
Priorities.
I know. So
yeah, Astral Chain good. I'm glad to see Nintendo kept their relationship with Platinum Games despite Star Fox Zero not being the greatest. Wonderful 101 was good.
Yeah.
But Star Fox Zero,
people saying
Astral
game
Chain?
of the year, Christian.
Good. We'll see. We'll see once I get through it.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Mike, what have you been playing?
Well, I haven't been playing anything new, so I don't have any real details to go through.
Okay,
so
then we'll move on. No, just kidding. Just kidding, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh.
I had a good story.
What was that Worlds one game? What's that Worlds game that you play all the time? What's that game called again?
The Worlds game. You know what that is.
I know.
And you know you love it.
Sorry. Go ahead. I didn't even know.
I've been playing some more, just going through Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Almost done with the game, so but I'm trying to decide if I want to go for the shiny charm or not.
Have you gotten any shinies yet, Mike?
No. Not a one.
Oh.
Now, but in Pokemon Go, that's something completely different.
You can use those Pokemon in Pokemon Let's Go, can't you?
Yeah, but once I transfer it over, you can't transfer it back, and I'm not about to do that.
I see.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, so interesting story, and I know that somebody in our reviews just said we go off on the rails, so I'm going to go off on the rails here.
Nonsense. We never do that.
I almost inadvertently started a fight, like a literal fist fight between people in Pokemon Go.
Really?
We have there's a Facebook chat for our town, like for raids and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm new to it, so I'm not, still trying to figure out how everything's going. And on Wednesday, there was a Azelf raid, and I was working late. I didn't get done with work until 5:30, and the raid started at 6. So I raced home. My son got into the car because he plays it as well, and then I raced to the place where they started off. And at that same time, somebody was typing in the chat, "Where is everybody? Where, what's going on? Are we starting?" And I said, and I typed in, "They're at the like the tennis courts at the park district." And he's like, "Okay, so and then they said, "So what's going on now?" And then I looked, and these people, they play the game, and they go to the next stop. They're like meticulous, and they're like a well-oiled machine, this group of people. And I'm like, I think they're leaving, and I go to hit send, and my phone dies. Because I didn't charge my phone, so my phone's dead. And now this guy's like typing into the chat what's going on, and nobody's saying anything. So then he makes a comment like, "Why doesn't anybody communicate?" And then this other guy who's like in his 50s threatens to beat him up.
What?
And he's like, "You just meet me anywhere and anytime, and we'll hash this out." And
that escalated quickly.
Yeah,
I know,
kidding.
Like, and it seriously, it went back and forth, like threatening each other and stuff. And I finally jumped in. I'm like, "Hey, dude, I think I'm the reason you were upset. I want you to know my phone died. I was not ignoring you." And he's like, "Oh no, it's totally fine. It's not you. It's just a lot of people do this." And that kind of got everybody to calm down a bit.
Wow.
But in retrospect, I really should have just goaded him. They're like, "Yeah, man, this guy is talking real crap about you. I wouldn't let him get away with that."
That's good.
Just for my own entertainment.
Well, then, yeah, you can film it and post it online and get, gazillion
Exactly.
views
World
on
star.
Yeah. But then it would say, "Pokemon causes violence." Oh my goodness. I can't believe
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That'll get us the hits.
Yeah.
So long story short, I caught an Azelf.
Oh, nice job.
Yeah. And then I also played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! In
Yes.
the Retro Game Brews tournament.
Yes. Which we helped sponsor, by the way.
Yes.
And
You did
So
good.
I
You did,
practiced
Mike.
it.
You did good.
No, I didn't. I got a bye in the first round.
Yeah, but you beat
You-
Crunchy was being nice to me.
You beat Crunchy in the first round.
Yeah, you did.
That's yeah. I mean, at least I didn't get knocked out by Glass Joe.
That's true. That's
so
true.
that was good. I practiced a lot, and I didn't realize until after I was watching. I'm like, oh, so there is a way you can knock out Glass Joe in 42 seconds.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Round.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was telling.
So I thought I had all the good ideas. I'm like, okay, I got this knocked down. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. But yeah, I got knocked down in the second round. But the guy who defeated me is like, he's a whiz at it. I think he made it to the finals. So
He actually didn't, but
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, nice try, Mike.
okay.
quarterfinals.
Well,
And to be fair, like the particular crowd that played that night, they're all like savants at this game.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, the guy that won it and seeing him fight against Super Macho Man. Oh my goodness. Just like I struggled with that character when I was a kid. I don't know if I mean, we did beat Mike Tyson, so we must have somehow beat him, but oh my goodness, watching him just dodge those spin attacks was crazy. Crazy. So good. Those guys are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Mike, you did good. I thought you did really well. Yeah, I couldn't believe knocking out Glass Joe in like 42 seconds was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nuts. But still, I had fun playing it,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that I'm going to be a part of the next one as well, because it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turtles
Well,
in Time, right?
yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
Indeed.
fun game. Cool. Anything
Which
else?
I will
Oh.
warn you guys,
Yes.
they're savants at that game too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
So
Well,
all right,
start
I'm out.
practicing now.
Now I'm out.
Those-
I'll be an observer.
yeah, because that was part of the season last year, right, Mike? Or Blue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I played it. I was like, oh, yeah.
The
I'm
scores
okay at this
that
game.
people posted was
Oh, my
like, "Are
goodness.
you kidding me?"
I know. I was like, yeah, I can't compete, but it's still fun. I enjoy it, but yeah, I can't compete with those guys for
Yeah.
sure. Cool. Anything else, Mike?
No, that is it.
Nice. So, as I mentioned before, I've been playing Astral Chain myself, and yeah, I'm really enjoying that game. It's different. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the game either, but I really do like the game a lot. And, yeah. So I mean, it's a fantastic game. What else have I been playing? Oh, so the other one that I've been playing then since our last episode, since Christian recommended it, I picked up Telling Lies and Her Story as a yeah, yes. So I started playing Her Story first because Christian, you told me I should play that one first. And I did play that. I mean, I didn't finish either of them yet, shockingly enough. But Her Story is cool. Like, I like the fact that you're trying to figure out a murder, and it just kind of plops you in. Like, there's no explanation. You just sit down in front of a computer and you just start searching for words, and you watch these videos of this woman explaining where she was and why she shouldn't be considered the murderer, and just her story. It's crazy. And then Telling Lies.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I like how you phrased that.
Yes.
She's not proclaiming her innocence. She's just telling you why she shouldn't be considered the murderer. That's a very important distinction.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's weird because she'll tell you like bits and pieces of the story like through these interviews, and you have to figure out like the days and times and when she's telling things, and she'll start unraveling certain things that even though she may not have committed murder, there's some weird stuff going on in that game for sure.
There's a very effective design language to it too, because it's just one character, it's one performance, but
yeah.
Throughout every interview, she changes clothes and the interview room kind of changes. So when you're searching videos, you might see one that's like kind of towards the end, and then you'll be like, ooh, this one's going to be good. This one's going to be good. I haven't seen this far yet. Or this will flesh out a point that might have been touched on earlier. And so you can, like, as you do your search results, you kind of mentally rank them. And then it's kind of like, you know, a search loot box. You're searching stuff. Maybe you'll get a really good one. Maybe you'll get a rare.
Yeah. Based on the words. And it's weird because I need to take notes. I didn't start taking notes, but I need to take notes now. Because this game, there's that one and Telling Lies, there's just so much going on in the game. So Telling Lies is a little bit different. So you start off by it's the same thing though. But this one actually you walk into the apartment. It starts with you walking into the apartment, and you sit down and you're going to hack into this computer. I don't know.
Her computer, I think, is what it is, and she has access to this database.
Okay.
And so she's going to like look at the database on the computer and then just get rid of it afterwards, I think is the implication.
Oh. You can also play solitaire on that computer, which is kind of fun.
Yes, sir.
With the old school Windows card designs?
Yes.
Like the one that's the shell and there's the castle.
Yes. It's awesome. So I was playing Telling Lies. And what's interesting about this is that there'll be a video clip and he or she is talking to somebody, but you don't know who they're talking to. So you only hear one side of the conversation. And then you're trying to find the other side of that conversation and when you do, it's really cool. Like when you find both sides of the conversations, fascinating. Just such a cool thing. And so I was playing it, and the first word that pops up that they give you is love. So there's like 4 videos that they show you, and all have the word love in it. So I played the first one, and he talks about, you know, this is not a spoiler because it's the first video that you can watch, but he talks about how he was in, you know, he's only been in love once. And I don't know who he's talking to at this point. He might be just recording it for his own prosperity. I'm not sure. And then the next video I clicked on, I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is related. I click on it, and it was like... I you can watch on the stream because I was like, oh, this is not a kid's game whatsoever. This is very adult because she was a cam. What do they call cam girl? They make money off of like doing cams, I guess.
Cam girl?
Yeah, cam girls. And you only get that because later on he explains, or he's talking to her and he says, oh, you know, what was your life before this? But I was just like, oh, I got to stop this. This is. Felt dirty watching it.
Well, does the game have a rating or no? Because it's
I think it's M. I think it's rated
M.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't.
So yeah, you're streaming an M-rated game, Roger.
No, I didn't know it was an M-rated game. And I was just like, what is going on here? But really interesting. Like, I don't know. I want to dig more into that because this guy his performance is really good. I think he does a really great job as performance. I think some of the pauses are a little bit too long because then you watch the other video and like they don't talk as long as he's giving them pauses for. So I was like, well, that seems kind of weird. But the other cool thing is that when you're trying to connect these videos, they're all in different time zones. And then you start oh, they're in different time zones. That's why this is different. I don't know. It's
Yeah, speaking of those pauses, it kind of put me in a different brain space playing that game over the course of like 1 8-hour marathon, because all the conversations, like you said, have very long pauses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began to like register, my brain began adapting to that and registering it as normal. And so it was just like, line, pause. And so I took the pause to just kind of decompress, just do something else on my computer while I waited for the next line, and then pay attention. And so like my brain adjusted to that. And then I started like watching a YouTube video or something, and there were no pauses. And I was like, whoa, I got to slow down here. What's going on? I was expecting a pause and there wasn't one. So you can really get enveloped in it, and it changes the way you think about things too, which I like a lot.
Yeah. Is there a way that the one thing I wish that you could do, is there a way that you can put those two videos together, watch them at the same time so you can see both of the conversations happening at the same time, or no?
No, sir.
Oh, it's too bad.
I'd like to see someone, crazy people on YouTube splice all these videos together so that you supposedly don't even have to play the game yourself anyway. So I would really like to see how these things line up. It's also weird because you don't hear any of the audio for the other side. And based on my like sleuthing about like behind the scenes information, like they were actually playing videos while people were giving their performances so that they knew the timing.
Oh, so really?
I don't know, because there's no audio playing of the other conversation. And so I had to I was thinking the whole time, like, are they really watching someone?
I thought the same thing.
Are they just like using timings? What's going on here? Because if they're just using timings, this is kind of awkward because they're just smiling at a camera right now. Yeah. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I thought the same. It's funny because I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, so are they just sitting here like they know the script, but they're not really, they're just kind of like responding based on what they thought, like the person, because like acting is very much you play on other people. So it's really hard to act when you don't have that other person to play off of. So yeah, it's interesting. And then the other cool thing about the game though, Christian, is that you can hear like in your apartment, you can hear people yelling in the other apartment and stuff like that, and hear police sirens and stuff like that. I don't know. It's a interesting, it really kind of puts you in the game. Like you kind of get enveloped in that game, and it's an interesting twist on puzzle games, I guess.
Do you think you're going to stick it through to the end?
I do want to. I said to my wife, I said, we should play this together because she likes these kind of games where you puzzle things to, put puzzles together and such. So, speaking of which, I should just mention this. So my wife has one more fish to catch in Stardew Valley, and then she caught every fish possible in that game.
Wow.
Yeah, she is at the point where she pretty much got everything she needs to do. There's a couple achievements she need to unlock, but I'm just like, oh my God. I told you, she's a completionist.
That's almost a shame though, because she's playing on a Switch. She won't get anything for it.
That's true. Oh,
just besides personal satisfaction.
Oh my goodness, you're right. I should like introduce her to trophies.
Are you sure?
Oh, Christian should give you a run for your money.
Maybe. I'd like to see it happen.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing. Let's go on then to how people can get a hold of us. And Blue, how can people get a hold of you?
You can almost always find me on Twitter. My handle is @WritersView, and it's spelled with a Y, so WRY. And then I also have a website, which is writersview.com.
Nice. And Christian, how can people get a hold of you?
You can also find me on Twitter at Christian Cubza. Otherwise, you can read my reviews, like the one for Wreckfest or the one for generic video game name Astral Chain, when that eventually becomes available at newgamenetwork.com.
And Mike, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at TC Throwers. You can also find the Controller Throwers podcast on iTunes and Google Play, and you can check me out at twitch.tv/TC Throwers. Nice.
And listeners, as I mentioned before, you can always find us on Twitter. That's Gamerheads PC. You can send us an email, info@gamerheadspodcast.com. You can go to our website at gamerheadspodcast.com as well. And you can also find us on Twitch too, and that's twitch.tv/gamerheadspodcast. And we have now a schedule to streaming games. So check that out. I'll post that on our Twitter too, but I do have a schedule of when I'll be streaming different games and different themes to each of those streams as well. So Mario Mondays is one of them. And then I have Gamerheads Presents, which is Sunday mornings. And I present games that we've reviewed, currently reviewing, or, obviously once the embargo lifts, or games that reviewed in the past too. So check that out.
Yeah.
All right.
Be aware, Roger likes to stream first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I do. So that's my only free time I have. Either that or really late at night. So yeah. So Blue, thank you so much for joining us this week.
You're welcome.
And Christian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And listeners, thank you again for spending your time with us and listening to our podcast. And if you do want to leave us reviews, we'd love to hear what you have to say. You can do so on our iTunes, and you can access the link right in our show notes, and you can leave us a review there. So with that, we will bid you adieu. And until next time, keep playing games, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Good night.